Cole is also a member of the Budget Committee, and he joins me now. Congressman Cole, I want to ask first about this. I think it's surprising to some of us, a conservative divide over the Ryan budget. You obviously lost some Republicans on the Budget Committee. It only made it out of one vote. Club for Growth has come out kind of against it. They didn't quite say they were fully against it, but they don't like it. Is this exactly the way you envisioned this rollout looking like?
It's certainly exactly the way I envisioned it. Look, there was no drama to the vote in the Budget Committee. If you note, the two no votes actually passed and waited to make sure that we had sufficient votes to pass the budget out. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a few other members, again, be upset because they would like to go further than the Ryan budget actually does. But we're not going to have any trouble getting to 218 votes. And it doesn't bother me that people are impatient and want to do more rather than less. So it's actually a good debate to have. I don't think it makes much difference, and we'll pass the budget in short order next week.
Well, is this how much of this, it feels as if this was much more of a political document than the first budget that Ryan put out a year ago, meaning, I mean, we're even hearing about how you guys tested it, you focus grouped it a little bit. There's some parts of it you're not announcing, including what parts of the tax code, which subsidies, specific subsidies would go away, tax breaks would go away. I mean, be realistic here, election year politics play a role in some of those decisions?
Oh, there's certainly an element of politics about any budget, frankly. It's meant to be a statement as well as a working document. But this is a real budget, and it actually, I would argue, is better than the budget we had last year. I think the Medicare portion's probably improved by the Wyden-Ryan addition. I like the fact that we dealt with sequester the way it ought to be dealt with by looking at entitlement spending. And as for not having the specifics on the tax piece, that's really not what the Budget Committee is supposed to do. It lays out the framework, but you actually have to work those things through committee. That's the Ways and Means job. Just the same way as on appropriations. They give us a number, but we have a great deal of latitude in how we do that. Otherwise, you're just frankly concentrating too much power and authority in a single committee. So I think the Ryan document's a fair statement of probably what whoever the Republican nominee is going to run on. It's certainly where we are as a party, and I think I'm glad to see the Democrats are finally entering the debate. I mean, the president last year had a budget that didn't get a single vote in the Democratic Senate. The Democratic Senate hasn't produced a budget in 3 years. My friend Chris, they didn't produce a budget when they're last year in the majority or last year. So,
well, actually,
getting in the game.
Well, actually, let's talk about this budget, because I know this is a favorite Republican talking point about the Senate not passing a budget. But actually, the passage of the debt ceiling deal became the Budget Control Act, and in essence is the budget, because it puts caps. And in fact, this budget lowers the caps. That's something you're not for. You expect these caps to get to come back, essentially?
Well, first of all, I disagree, Chuck. It's not a budget. It's a number, is what the Budget Control Act is. I mean, there's no plan for dealing with long-term entitlements in there, nothing on Medicare. It's simply a cap on discretionary spending. We respect the cap. We think we can do a little bit better. That's why we proposed that in our budget. But obviously, we'll pass and we'll appropriate to that number in the House. Then we've got to negotiate with the Senate and the President, and we'll see where we end up. It's actually not a great deal of difference. Difference of $19 billion in a sum of over $1 trillion is really pretty trivial, but we think we ought to do a little bit better than the minimum.
Well, $19 billion, a billion here and a billion there, and eventually you get real money, I guess. All right, the old Everett Dirksen line. Tom Cole, Republican from Oklahoma, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
All right, up next, the president picks his nominee to lead the World Bank. You know who it isn't, or we would have broke in a lot sooner. But first, today's trivia question. Who is the only registered